Chapter 1. The Cyclone. The house trembled as the wind rose, rattling every loose board and nail. Dorothy clutched Toto tightly against her chest, feeling his small heart race. The sound outside was like a giant roaring across the prairie, growing louder by the second. Dust swirled through the cracks in the windows, and the floor beneath Dorothy's feet shivered, as if the earth itself were afraid. She had meant only to grab Toto and run back to the storm cellar, but the moment she reached the doorway, a violent gust slammed it shut. She pulled with all her strength, but the wind held it fast, howling through the frame. It was too dangerous to try again. The storm outside was already twisting the world apart. The house gave a sudden, deep groan, and Dorothy felt it lift slightly on one side. Her breath caught. Toto whined. Another blast of wind crashed underneath the house, and this time the entire building rose into the air, slowly, then higher still, like a boat lifted by a great unseen wave. Dorothy stumbled toward the center of the room as the house left the ground completely. It spun once, twice, then steadied, climbing into the swirling heart of the cyclone. Windows rattled, dishes slid across the table, and the walls creaked under the strain. Yet, strangely, after the first terrifying moments, the motion became almost gentle, like floating in a rocking cradle. Toto wriggled from Dorothy's arms and hid under a small cupboard door that hung loosely from its hinges. Dorothy followed, curling beside him on the floor as the house drifted higher and higher. The wind roared outside like an ocean storm, but inside everything was oddly calm. Time stretched. Dorothy couldn't tell whether minutes or hours passed. At moments, she felt fear so sharp it made her fingertips tingle. At others, she felt a strange calm, as if she were drifting far above the worries of Kansas and the gray world she had known all her life. Once, she even crawled to a window and peered out. What she saw made her gasp. Below her, the cyclone spun furiously, a towering column of churning air and dust. The house was trapped in the middle of it, carried upward like a leaf caught in a current. Lightning flashed inside the swirling walls, and bits of trees and fences spun past, circling endlessly before vanishing again into the storm. Dorothy backed away quickly, her heart pounding. She sat against the wall and held Toto close. There was nothing she could do but wait. She thought of Aunt Em and Uncle Henry, of the gray little house on the prairie, and wondered if she would ever see them again. The hours dragged on. The air inside grew heavy. Dorothy felt her eyelids drooping, her body swaying gently with the movement of the house. At last, worn out by fear and motion, she drifted into a deep, dreamless sleep. She didn't feel the moment the cyclone began to sink. She didn't hear the wind easing. She didn't notice when the house finally tilted downward and began to fall. There was only a single, sharp crash. Then silence. Dorothy slept through it all, unaware that the small wooden house had landed in a place that was nothing like Kansas, a land filled with color, shining light, and magic she had never imagined. When she finally woke, Toto was already barking at the door, and Dorothy was about to step into Oz.